All right, let's jump right in. Today we're getting into the big ideas from Jordan Peterson's book, Beyond Order. Think of it as a guide for what to do when the rules you live by just aren't cutting it anymore.
The entire book really boils down to this one central question. The idea is that our lives are this constant, delicate balancing act between stability on one side and transformation on the other. And figuring out when to lean into each one, well, that's the great challenge of living a good life. So Peterson frames basically all of human experience as a kind of negotiation between these two massive realms. You've got order, the world we know and understand, and you've got chaos, the great unknown. Everything you do, everything you think, everything you feel, it's all happening somewhere on this map.
Okay, so let's dig a little deeper into what Peterson actually means by order and chaos. Because these aren't just, abstract concepts. He sees them as the two fundamental settings for the story of your life.
So, order. Think of this as the world you know. It's where your actions get you the results you expect. It's the structure of your family, your job, our laws. Peterson has this fascinating idea that we outsource the problem of sanity to the people around us. We rely on all these shared expectations just to keep ourselves stable.
But here's the twist. Chaos isn't just the bad stuff. It's actually where everything new comes from. It's the realm of pure potential. It's where we find the brand new information that we desperately need to grow and adapt. And that makes it both incredibly dangerous and full of promise.
And this right here, this is the crucial point of the whole book. Any system of order, no matter how good it is, can get stale or outdated or even turn toxic. So to keep our own lives and our whole society healthy and alive, we must take these little journeys into the unknown to update ourselves and our world.
So what happens when we get stuck? What if we cling too tightly to one realm and ignore the other? Well, Peterson warns us that this leads to two huge dangers.
When we take order way too far, when we refuse to adapt, the rules stop being helpful and they start becoming a prison. And in our personal lives, or even in a whole society, this can lead to a kind of rigid, soul-crushing tyranny.
And get this, the book shares this perfectly absurd example. A client of his got trapped in this pointless corporate argument. Someone decided the term flip chart might be offensive. Now, this was a well-meaning policy, right? Designed for order and respect, but it spiraled into this foolish, pathological debate over something no one was even bothered by. And this brings us to a really powerful rule. That feeling you get inside, that little rebellion, when you're faced with that kind of nonsense, that voice in your head that says, this is just wrong, that is a vital signal. It's your conscience screaming that the rules have become corrupt and that if you follow them, you're betraying yourself.
Now, on the flip side, you've got the peril of too much chaos. Or maybe it's better to say, the danger of refusing to create any order. When you don't say what you want, when you don't face your problems head-on, you just drift into this fog of meaninglessness and paralysis. He tells this really poignant story about a young woman who's basically just dropped out of life. She's a perfect example of his rule. Do not hide unwanted things in the fog. Because she refused to define her problems, to even articulate a path forward, she became totally lost in this abyss of her own making.
So, okay, if those are the two great dangers, the tyranny and the abyss, how in the world do you walk the line between them? The answer, Peterson argues, is to take on the conscious project of building your own character. It's nothing less than a hero's journey.
Now this is where things get a little mystical, but stick with me, because it's pretty cool. He uses these ancient alchemical symbols to map it all out. Step 1. You follow what is genuinely meaningful and interesting to you. That's the round chaos. This will inevitably lead you to step 2, confronting the dragon, the danger, but also the promise that's hidden in the unknown. And if you can do that courageously, you emerge as a more integrated, balanced, and whole person.
Okay, so that's the theory. But what does this look like in the real world? Let's take a look at this awesome example from the book. It's about a young man, a waiter, who was really resentful of his job until he decided to just completely flip his attitude and commit to it 100%.
He decided to work as hard as he possibly could, right there, in that job he used to hate. And the result? It wasn't just in his head, it was real. He got promoted.
Not once, not twice, but 3 times in just 6 months. By aiming at something and taking responsibility, he completely transformed his own reality.
And this all builds to what is, for me, the deepest and most important theme in the entire book. How do we find the strength and the meaning we need to deal with the fact that life is full of suffering and tragedy?
Check out this number, a 40-year marriage. That's about 15,000 days. Now think about some small thing that irritates you every single day. Like he gives this example of a woman who hated the plate she ate off for 20 years but never said anything. It's not a small problem, is it? It's that irritation multiplied by thousands and thousands of days. Unaddressed problems compound into something huge.
So when you're facing that unavoidable pain of life, Peterson says you really only have 2 paths you can walk. There's the path of resentment, where you see yourself as a victim, and it leads to bitterness and deceit. Or there's the path of gratitude, which is this courageous, difficult decision to be thankful for what you have, in spite of all the hardship.
Which brings us right to the heart of it all, the ultimate question the book is trying to answer. If suffering and even evil are guaranteed parts of life, what can possibly be strong enough to sustain us through it all?
And the answer he gives, it's not happiness. Happiness comes and goes. The antidote is meaning. And you don't find meaning by making your life easy. You find it by voluntarily adopting responsibility, by shouldering the heaviest load you can bear and aiming for the highest good you can imagine.
And this final quote just flips the whole script on what we think we want. It asks, who told you that you wanted an easy life? What if, deep down, what you really need is to be wrestling with something important, something heavy, profound, and difficult? That's what gives life purpose.
And so, I'll leave you with this question from the book, a question that turns all of this philosophy right back onto you. It asks you to look at your own life, right now, and ask yourself this: where does opportunity lurk right where you have given up responsibility? Because it's in those very places that your most meaningful adventures are waiting for you.